Daniel Ricciardo has had some juicy things to say about his tenure at McLaren, and although many thought that it was his fault that he underperformed in the 2022 season, as well as the 2021 one, Ricciardo has had a different view of things. The Honey Badger has spoken to the media after the Mexico GP, and the words he had to say will slightly shock some of the F1 fans, given the fact that Ricciardo is known as this charismatic guy that barely takes shots at anyone on the grid, let alone his own team. So what did Ricciardo have to say about McLaren, and could it be the team's fault that he underperformed heavily in 2022? Ricciardo's 2022 season started really badly, and that is something that happened to Norris too. However, the Briton was able to get into the groove much earlier than Ricciardo, who seems to be finding rhythm in the finishing stages of the season and possibly his career. At the Singapore GP, Ricciardo finished P5 behind Norris, who was P4. At the Mexico GP, Ricciardo was put on a strategy that Norris wanted for himself and managed to climb the field and finish P7. On the way of doing so, he neutralized a 10-second penalty that was given to him due to a contact he made with Tsunoda, and Norris finished P10. Imagine if we were able to see this version of Ricciardo constantly on the grid. What a joy that would have been, huh? Well, according to Ricciardo, this couldn't have been done due to the fact that he was mostly a passenger in McLaren and the team didn't really pay attention to the Honey Badger when they were struggling the most. After the Mexico GP, Ricciardo said that this was the first time he felt comfortable with the 2022 version of McLaren's car, the MCL36. I guess it's better late than never. I'm going to take today for what it is. I'm going to enjoy it and appreciate that we did our pace and it was awesome and whatever. I hope it means it'll be like that for the next two races. Not to be negative, I don't even want to look ahead, I just want to take today for what it is, and hopefully we've learned something from it. Even the point finishes, probably even last year, I felt we were normally defending rather than attacking. So just to have an attacking race, and especially for me, with this car, to feel like I can attack a little bit more with it, it's just a nice feeling. But given the fact that Ricciardo is a proven race winner, it was really strange to all the media and the experts as to why the Honey Badger has struggled to understand how the McLaren car works. 2 years spent in understanding the car is something too much, and he's been absolutely outperformed by Norris on both of these seasons. According to Daniel, he has felt a lot like a passenger during the 2022 season, and in one of his favorite races in Austin, the feeling of being helpless is something that has hurt his ambitions to move forward a lot. Of course, it's not typical in a place like Austin for me to feel like that. There's so much about that weekend that I love, so it had to be pretty bad for me to feel like that in a place like that. It's just that there have been a lot of times where I felt a little bit like a passenger in a way. I just feel like I've worked with such little grip that no amount of talent is going to get the job done, if you know what I mean. So that's where it's just that I felt a little bit helpless at times. So you feel like you can't really show anything that you've got because you're just not operating at the level of the others. So today, to be able to at least lean on it and push and have pace and be a guy that's setting quick times makes me happy. Obviously, Ricciardo doesn't feel very happy with the way he's been treated at McLaren when he was struggling to understand how the car works. But on the other hand, Ricciardo had plenty of time to adapt and understand the car's principles, and it was mostly his fault that the results weren't coming with McLaren. Now, when everything is said and done, and Ricciardo will be replaced by his younger compatriot Oscar Piastri, the Aussie can say whatever lays on his mind. The 8-time race winner has also spoken about the outcome of the Mexico GP and whether or not this outcome proves that he still has it to be a competitor in F1. I still know that I can get the job done, but it's hard when you can't do it week in and week out. It's a bit like Vettel those last few races. He did phenomenal races and then people are asking, is it time to retire? I think all of us can still do it on our days. Obviously, it's just the consistency for whatever reason, but I still love it, and I still want to get to the front. Ricciardo's options as of now aren't looking great when talking about getting to the front. The best opportunity he had was with McLaren, the team with which he has scored his 8th and potentially his last career win, but it goes without saying that he found himself in the wrong place at the wrong time. So while it was obvious that Red Bull was going to prioritize Max Verstappen and Daniel Ricciardo would be the number 2 guy from 2018 onwards, now we're realizing that Red Bull's tenure was his best chance of potentially coming close to winning a championship. What comes next for Ricciardo? It seems like he is very focused on taking a year off and then returning in 2024 to conquer a seat that would allow him to be racing in the front. This is one of the main reasons why he declined seats such as Williams's and Haas's, but Ricciardo's plans don't really correspond with reality. If he decides to return in 2024, there aren't many teams that would provide him with a winning seat, let alone a championship contending one. Therefore, if Ricciardo wants to stay relevant in the sport, there is an open seat in Haas that the team has offered him multiple times. The team's principal, Günther Steiner, said that he has absolutely no idea as to why Ricciardo doesn't want to race for them, and said that is a question that the media needs to ask Ricciardo and not him. I think you need to ask Danny that one, not me, about why he doesn't want to race. I don't know if it's something against Haas or just that he decides to do something different for a year. I cannot guess what he wants to do. I have no idea what to answer you. If he's interested in us, he's not shy to call me up. I'm not going to chase him down. I want him to decide what he wants to do for himself first, before being talked into something. I think he is a good driver, and I don't know how he got into the situation he is in now, but I think he needs to come clean with himself and decide what he's going to do. The possibility of Ricciardo signing a deal with Mercedes as their reserve driver is still a very real one, and we might see the Honey Badger staying in the sport just so that he won't lose his sense of how to properly drive an F1 car. But even with this move, the 2024 seat is far from guaranteed for Ricciardo, and that is something he knows very well. When talking about his future, Ricciardo said that moving to IndyCar is something he won't do because ovals scare him, and he made it more than clear that his future is in F1. However, planning to stay in the sport and actually staying are two different things, as we saw how difficult it was to enter the sport with Nick de Vries. There have been some successful sabbatical stories over the years, such as Schumacher's, Alonso's, Raikkonen's and Magnussen's. However, Magnussen came back under circumstances that aren't likely to happen anytime soon, given the fact that Haas was forced to kick out Mazepin and his dad due to the Russian invasion of Ukraine. As for the other three drivers, they are proven world champions, and although we have lots of respect for Danny, he is nowhere near the likes of these drivers. With that being said, it is evident that Ricciardo feels a bit of bitterness towards McLaren and the way that they've treated him in the 2021 and 2022 seasons. Although he has a lot of blame to take upon himself, rest assured that Ricciardo's fury doesn't come from nowhere, and the team has indeed focused a lot on Lando when Ricciardo needed a lot of help from them. What do you think about Ricciardo's recent comments regarding the 2022 season with McLaren? Let us know in the comments below.